It looked bad.
They'd be claiming conspiracy. Always got a backup plan, huh?
Mount Carmel Board of Mayor and Alderman meetings. Okay, this thing's not on. Okay, Mount Carmel Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting for May the 24th, 2018, 6:30 p.m. is now in session. Reverend Christopher Cody, this is Commissioner Eugene Christian's nephew, is going to lead us in a word of prayer. Can you please stand?
Bow your heads. Father in heaven, we come before you. God, we give you praise and honor for your goodness, for your mercy. We thank you, God, for your kindness, your love toward us. Thank you, God, for granting us this privilege and opportunity, Lord, to live in this great country that you have blessed us with. God, to live in freedom and in truth. We give praise to you, Almighty God. We pray, Lord, that you would search our hearts and our minds, God. Forgive us of any and all sin. Cleanse us, oh God, Lord, that we might be pleasing to you. Your will be done in our lives. God, I pray, Lord, for this governing body and this community, Lord, that you would grant godly wisdom and counsel, Lord, to motivate this body to make right decisions, right choices, oh God. Lord, let the decisions that is made, God, be for the betterment of this community. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ. I ask you, God, that you would guide our lives as we endeavor to live pleasing unto you. In the precious name of Jesus, we pray and ask. Amen.
Amen. And Jason Lopez, he's a specialist E4 at the U.S. Army. This being the weekend it is. Going to lead us in pledge.
Place your hands over your heart, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. That being said, roll call, Mike.
Alderman Eugene Christian.
Present.
Alderman Margaret Christian.
Present.
Alderman Wanda Davidson.
Present.
Alderman Garrett White.
Present.
Alderman Jennifer Williams.
Present.
Vice Mayor Carl Wolf.
Present.
Mayor Chris Jones.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right. Okay, moving on to number 6. Approval and/or correction of the minutes of the special call Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting dated March the 23rd, 2018. The minutes of the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting dated March the 27th, 2018. The minutes of the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting dated April 24th, 2018. And the committee and departmental reports. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I will make that motion.
I have a motion by Alderman Maggie Christian. Do I have a second?
I'll make it second.
I have a second by Alderman Garrett. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. John, if you would read visitor comments.
As stated on the agenda under visitors' comments, all persons wishing to address the board shall stand and state your name and address and shall be limited to a 3-minute presentation. The board may not participate in any discussion and cannot vote on the subject you present. Absent an emergency, the earliest time the board might discuss and vote on your matter will be at the next board meeting. Individuals and/or group representatives who have placed an item on tonight's agenda will be allowed to make brief comments when that agenda item is open for discussion.
This time I open the floor for visitors' comments.
I'm Philip Holt, I'm the chairman of the Mount Carmel Public Library Committee, and I would like to ask the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to consider a budget amendment to return the $210 that was taken from budget line item 266 from the library for the materials for the little libraries that we had constructed. And since that money has been donated to the city by private sponsors anyway, if we could get that money back, then we could get our library sign repaired. We're proud of our librarian. We're getting ready to join the regional library system, but our sign is unusable, and that would go a long way towards making repairs to our sign, so we can have a good library sign.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Mindy Floshower and I live at 1007 Independence Avenue. I would like to take a moment to talk about the money with the Parks and Recs. I know many of you have children who have played for the center. I have a daughter who plays as well, and I coach soccer for the league. We are a county who does very little for our children, and what we do have is about to be taken away because you guys can't get a budget put together. So Gordonsville gives 20%, while Churchill and Mount Carmel give 40%. It will be very hard for Churchill to cover 80% of the expense. The rec center is the only extracurricular activity that a lot of these kids have access to. Sports builds confidence, discipline, and respect. It teaches you to be competitive, team building, and working with others. It helps with our children's social skills. It helps with their anxiety and stepping out of the box. It also helps with depression, and these kids make lasting friendships. Sorry. The coaches who volunteer are not only coaches, but we're mentors for these kids as well. Why would you want to take this away from them? Why is it always the kids who have to suffer? What else do we have in store for the kids if the Parks and Recs gets taken away? What do we have for them? We'll have nothing. Why do they have to suffer? It's not fair. It's not. A lot of these kids' parents cannot afford to play travel ball in Kingsport. They can only afford the rec center. And we're going to take that away from them. It's not fair. And that's all I have to say.
Mayor, if I could, I'm Todd Ross, 859 Nantucket Avenue since 2002. Also currently the Sessions Court Judge for Hawkins County, and for the last 4 months been the Juvenile Court Judge in Hawkins County while Judge Boyd was absent. I was wondering how I was going to speak in 3 minutes and try to get everything that I wanted to say in. Ms. Fleshour, thank you. She covered many of the points that I wanted to cover. But the reason I'm here tonight is also over this Parks and Rec issue. I believe that it's directly related to my job, to the judicial system, to the administration of justice in this county. I believe it's very important. That's why I've spent thousands of hours and dollars over the last 15 years on this Parks and Rec program. I've served on the board. I've been a coach, a parent, like I said, board member over the past 15 years, and not just with my kids. I coached for many years in football when my kids weren't even playing. Before my son was even old enough to play, I was out there working because I believe that it's important. Most of these children that are playing in this Parks and Rec, they don't have anything else. You know, I was blessed enough that, I was able to put my child through AAU, one of them. But with my son, I chose not to put him in travel football because I wanted him to experience Parks and Rec like I did when I played, when I was little. I know what benefits it brings. I know that I have kids on my teams that I coached that have mothers and fathers who are both in prison, who are being raised by grandparents who aren't able to go out and play with their kids, take them places, but they can get them to practice. They can get them somewhere where they can be exposed to adult mentors like Ms. Fleshour, like Ron Lack, my assistant coach, who's developed relationships with some of these kids, that they still call him. They talk to him on the phone. You can't replace that. You can't just say, "Oh, we're going to build a basketball court, put lights up, and that'll fix everything," or "We're going to do something else." That's not the same. It's not the same at all. It doesn't teach them how to be a part of a team, how to be proud of themselves for something, how to respect others, how to feel good about themselves as part of something bigger than themselves. And you can't replace that through offering something here and there, or saying, "Well, you can go up here and play ball." That's not it. If you guys can't figure out a way to save Parks and Rec, then you all need to just step aside and let somebody else come in here and figure it out. I don't know whose idea it was. I've been told by Mayor Jones that it was city administrators, Ms. Sandridge's idea. Ms. Sandridge asked me to come speak tonight so you guys would listen. Mayor Jones told me that Mayor Deal told him, "Oh, it'll be okay. Mount Carmel people will just have to pay $10 extra to be able to play like the county people do." I asked Mayor Deal. He said that's not what he said. There's an article in the paper, and Mr. Bobo, I believe, wrote it a few weeks ago that said that over a $2,000 insurance premium increase, they may have to drop football from the whole program. If they can't cover $2,000, how are they going to cover $80,000 loss? It's not going to work. And my question to you all, number one, how many of you have been to a board meeting for the Parks and Rec? How many have sat down with Timmy Wilson or Henry or Harold Patterson or the other mayors to say, "Hey, what can we do here? Can we get corporate sponsors? Can we talk to BAE? Can we talk to Eastman? Can we talk to Food City? Can we maybe get some help here?" When I was little, there were signs all over the ball fields from sponsors and business people. Where are those things? What have y'all done to try to raise money to support these kids instead of just looking on a line item and saying, "Oh, here's some money we can cut. We'll get rid of that." It's not that simple. You guys are going to make a decision. It's going to affect a lot of children. They're going to grow up. They're not going to have anything. They're going to be on drugs like the kids that I see every day, 14 using meth, and they're going to come through there, and you can't fix that.
Yep.
Well, there's been a lot of wasted money. Okay, for example, 2 houses right up here on the hill was bought $207,384.92 for 2 houses. One house is the Tompkins house. They paid $100,642 for that one house. That house is out of pieces anyway. I wonder how many of these people went and looked at the house before they agreed to buy it. And not only that Tompkins house, the grandson lives in that house. He is going to live in that house until his grandmother dies. That is what they signed, for him to live in that house. Now, great-grandmother lived to 100. Yeah. So they've got another 20 years probably before that house would ever become available. The other house is $106,000, $106,742.92. Vince's office is up there. One office in that big house that they bought, and there's office spaces in this building. They could rent that house if you have to suck it up. They can rent that house for $500 or $600. It's the Grimes house. And another one is the sirens that were bought for the tornadoes. Those were $50,000. They're still sitting up there. Okay, they're still sitting in the garage up there, not put in. The grandstand down here, it was about $20,000 right there. And I mean, why buy a grandstand for us? We don't need it. We need our children to play ball, to feed into volunteer hospitals. And then there were 5 vehicles bought in 1 year. Okay, 5 vehicles. $133,708.88. I know I don't buy 2 vehicles, my husband and I, at the same time. So this city needs to be run like you would a business or your own household budget. And of course, Chris don't have no bills anyway. He don't pay anything.
There are plenty of other ways to save money besides closing city businesses, raising taxes, and doing away with the parks and recreation for the children. My husband and myself and my 3 kids have been here for years, and not once have we ever seen that town do a fish fry. Organize a fish fry down at the fire hall once a week. Get the town out and about to enjoy this beautiful city. There are so many things that have been purchased lately that is sitting around collecting dust, not being used. Have an auction, get rid of it, make your money back. Since the park was another big purchase and not making any money, put the park to work. Have families come out and watch movies, sell hot dogs, chips, drinks, popcorns. This will also show the newcomers that the Mount Carmel how the town does for each other. Just like the stage on Main Street. That's going to be used, like twice a year, and even then it's not going to make any money. Put the stage to work. Have hot dog dinners. Get the local bands to play. Stop letting outside vendors come in and make all the money. Be creative. Need help? Get volunteers. Have the community come out and help. Have the high school students come out and help. Not only will it keep them busy through the summer, but it will also, if they're seniors, help them get their volunteer hours for the Tennessee Promise Scholarship. Getting the high school seniors involved will show how much this town does care, and when they are ready to buy or build a house, they'll want to do it in Mount Carmel. If you guys don't get off those plastic or those metal chairs and behind those plastic tables, this town's going to end up dying, and it'll be too late. You guys need to get involved. Have an adoption day down at the Animal Control. Not only will it help the animals get in good homes, but it will help lower the yearly expenses. I could have went on and on about how crooked some of the board members are and how sickening it was to watch a woman handcuffed getting recorded like a dancer in the strip joint. But the main focus should be in the townspeople and how the kids live in Mount Carmel. With all the negative information that's in the newspaper, not only does it make Mount Carmel look bad, but people are tired of seeing it. We need to change to start building this town back up. Within this next month, that whole board should break away and be creative and get involved with this town. Show us that you are earning the money that you make from Mount Carmel.
Rhonda Booker, I live at 816 South Sherbrooke Circle, Mount Carmel, Tennessee. And the old saying, the fish rots from the head is true. It's never been more true.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Oh, is it? The fish rots from the head. We all know that. We all know what the head is. And I think this is the first mayor that's ever had 70% of his insurance paid. There's a cut. We could use that money for the kids. And with some of the board members calling some of the citizens here that have come out and tried to raise awareness to try to fix something, hagglers, after we were told to leave, which, by the way, you don't have to leave. This is a public building. You can't ask us to leave. So don't diminish our intelligence by trying that again. And the point of order's got to stop. It should be called on Maggie when she was over talking Jennifer. So, to move on from there. You know, back in Indian days, tribal days, if one of the tribe members, the Indians, brought disrespect or dishonor on the tribe, they left. They didn't have to ask to be leaved. They didn't have to ask to go. They had enough honor to do that, not to bring more dishonor on their tribe or their village. That's to you, Chris. Now, as far as the rest of it, you know, we're talking about this little grandstand down here. $16,000 was paid to install the electrical. I went down there today, took pictures. There's 4 outlets. There's 3 spotlights. There is maybe 8 cam lights. Comes to 10 to 14, but we can't add those candles. We get off on 10 to 14. So, at my calculations, an electrician making $25 an hour, that took him 604 hours to install electrical, or over $1,000 for each electrical unit. Who votes on that? Would you guys pay that out of your pocket to do that in your home? I don't think so. I don't think anybody with a sound mind would. Anybody that can't run a business, they get their vehicles repossessed, they can't run their own business. Why should we let you have our city money to do what you want to with it? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. Churchill, they got a raise. 50 cents more on the hour. Ask them if any one of them would come up here and trade places with any of the workers in Mount Carmel. They would. They would not. What's the difference between the two towns? I think we're all looking at it. And we're not here to cause trouble. We're here to raise awareness. And we're tired of being disrespected, talked down to, condescending tone, and grabbing the gavel. That's not going to work anymore. There's power in the people, and the people are gaining power. So just so you know.
Okay, there being no further comments, we're moving on to.
Wait a minute.
Yes, Ms. Livingston.
My name's Denise Livesey, I live at 580 OD3 Drive. And I would just like to add, a lot of us are frustrated with the BOA. And we would like to ask you all to please stay out of hiring and firing. Michael has done a good job. You all attempted to, on the hidden agenda, and that was proven at the last meeting. And y'all did try to fire him immediately. And, we got that shot down. So I think we have made a statement there. And we would also like to say that, let's let him keep his powers. Let's see what he can do. Maggie and, Marion and Michael are not the reason that the budget is in the shape that it's in.
That's right.
He was brought into this. We all know that. We're not done. And that's not his fault. They're trying to dig us out of it. Marion has been a outstanding employee of this town. She has until December the 28th of this year. And I think she deserves a shot to go out on a great note. And I don't think that doing to her what she's been put through this year is right, especially that woman has worked very hard for this town. On that, our city government is what has been making us look bad. The citizens are tired of looking bad. And we would all like to get this behind us so we can all move forward. We would like to work together to get this town back on top. The citizens are wanting it. We're willing to work with you. We would love to work together and get this budget seen to. We know our taxes are going to go up. We know we're going down. We don't want to lose our town. We don't want Kingsport to come in here and take us over. We don't want to pay Hawkins County taxes plus Kingsport taxes. That's not what we want. We want to work with you all. We want to keep our parks and rec. I've got 4 grandchildren that I took away from my son. I put them all through. I've coached. I came through Parks and Rec. I've coached too. I've also donated my time, and I went out there and read some and called some of these ball games. Last meeting, Maggie, you did call us tonight. You know, after we left, Preacher threw us out. We went out. I went out gracefully. That was uncalled for. We're not hecklers. Well, you call us hecklers. We're not offering, we're not bargaining on nothing. We're trying to do our job as citizens and stand up for what's right here. We're trying to bring it to y'all's attention that we care about this town. We really do, or we would not be doing what we're doing. And it's time to focus on the business here. We need revenue. You all got to understand that. If we don't have revenue coming into this town, and it's not going to come by acting the way that our board is acting. Jennifer is the only one that has proven to us, and everybody that has seen this, that she cares about this city. The drama needs to stop. We need to move forward from here, and the waste has got to stop. And by doing this, we need to get focused and start moving forward and work as a team, just like what we teach our children in Parks and Rec. Y'all need to be leaders in this town, like we voted you in to be. Show us that you can do the job that you promised us that you would do. That's what we ask of you. And I think all this could be resolved.
Thank you.
I'm lost. I didn't know what Nelson Street for the last 40 years. You got police officers in this town. Why don't they watch these traffic when the light down here is red? You'll cut through the back of this building. Now, as I told you, I've been associated with law enforcement ever since I was 13 years old. And it's illegal to cut through private property to miss a red light. I don't care if it's a police officer or who it is. If the red light's on here, the traffic is flowing on the 4-lane in Main Street. He'll cut through here and go north on Main if he can. The first this month, we got a work session. I don't know what date it was now. I was sitting in here. I didn't know it was going to be downstairs, but they were down there going through their whatever. There was 7 cars cut through here to miss the red light. Fortunately, the last through that come through, they couldn't pull out on Main Street. The traffic was heavy. Another thing, some time ago, you bought a machine to mark the streets with. If you're not going to use it, let me borrow it. Play with it. Thank you.
All right, moving on, new business. Bill Hall, can I get you to come up here and talk to us real briefly about what the library's done with these book sharing, and locations and stuff we have?
Sure. The public library is in cooperation with the city and the vocational class at Volunteer High School. They've made these little, what we call little lending libraries. And they look like a big birdhouse, but we put books in them. Books for all ages, for children, for adults, for teenagers. And one of the little libraries has been installed up at the city park by the picnic shelter, and another one has been installed down here on Main Street. And we would encourage everyone, children or their parents, whatever, to patronize those. And we want to encourage reading and literacy in Mount Carmel. And we had funds donated for those, and then the vocational class down at the high school was good enough to donate the labor for that. And we certainly appreciate it. And we plan to have 1 or 2 more. And we'd like, if anyone wants to give us a recommendation, if they would like one in their neighborhood, we'd be glad to. We have one extra one that we've got up here now, but maybe when school starts again next fall, we can give the vocational class something to practice on, and they can build us some more, and we can put them in different neighborhoods around the town. And while the kids are out of school, they don't have. We'd like them to come to the library, but if they don't have time or it's inconvenient for the parents to bring them, then that's a good place to come look for something to read to keep them occupied during summer vacation. And we certainly appreciate everybody that's worked on that project, and we've had people donate funds to help offset the cost of building materials, and we certainly appreciate those people. And once again, I'd like to encourage y'all to you and your kids and grandkids to use to take advantage of our library and these little reading libraries that we put up inside the city limits. So thank you.
We actually have Mr. Techie and Linda Hicks. They done one of them, right? Okay. There it is. This is a certificate of appreciation. Techie and Linda Hicks, who is awarded this Mayor's Certificate of Appreciation for outstanding efforts and accomplishments which have been of great benefit to our community and particularly the town of Mount Carmel. Your community spirit and ears have helped make our town a better place in which to live and have greatly assisted me in conducting the affairs of the town. Thank you. And this other one was donated by Eugene and Margaret Christian, our board members, and same thing. This is a Mayor's Certificate of Appreciation. Eugene and Margaret Christian, who's awarded this Mayor's Certificate of Appreciation for outstanding efforts and accomplishments which have been a great benefit to our community and particularly to the town of Mount Carmel. Your community spirit and interest have helped the town a better place in which to live and have greatly assisted me in conducting the affairs of this town.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And Mayor, I would like to say this too. Anytime that we can get people reading more, either older people or our kids. But you know, we have computers now, and everybody stays on a computer or cell phones, all this modern technology. Put these books back in where people can actually get to them. And my motivation was, I hopefully really wanted to see the younger people do more reading because I'm an advocate reader and I learn a lot. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, ordinance number 18-467. This is an ordinance to amend the appendix B1 of the municipal code, personnel policies and procedures. This time I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, what this ordinance is first reading on the repeal of our present personnel policy. I've got Mr. John Grubbs here from MTAS to address any concerns or questions you have. I had emailed everyone a copy of that. Apologies, I think it's pushing 50 pages at this point, and it was color coded, so I chose not to print those. Probably should have communicated that better, but I think generally the major changes that you'll see and the ones that you may have had questions about, the grievance process, FMLA, vacation buyback policy, and maternity leave. And there may have been a couple others. Anything that anybody saw in that, Mr. Grubbs is available to take questions. I'll take questions as well. But part of these policies is aimed at reducing town liability and town risk. FMLA is a huge liability to a town. We don't actually meet the threshold by which FMLA gets triggered. Typically, any public organization has to have 50 employees. The grievance policy as well. We are considered to be at will, or we consider ourselves to be at will. The institution of a due process for employment undermines that. Also, within that probationary period, it's my recommendation that we strike the 6-month probationary period from the personnel policy. What that does is, the implication of a probationary period seems to indicate that beyond that probationary period, there is a job entitlement or a job right. That undermines our status as an at-will employer. Essentially, any at-will employer, the the foundation for that is that an employee can be let go at any time for any reason. To have that probationary period undermines that and suggests that beyond that probationary period, there's an increased expectation. So that's kind of my 90-second rundown on it, and John is available for questions.
John Grubbs.
Yes, I'll go ahead and come over here. I'm John Grubbs with UT MTAS. I'm an HR consultant with MTAS. I help cities in East Tennessee. Mike has put together a good, really solid example of a personnel policy that illustrates at-will employment relationships. He based it on the MTAS model. I've made a few suggestions, and we've gone back and forth. Some of the questions that he's had to ask about the construct of the policy, its comportment with your charter, and the desire to move away from at-will. Move toward at-will and away from, thank you, away from due process, and also eliminate the liability, the potential expensive liability of having family medical leave offered to employees when it's not required. So, any questions that you'd like to?
Before we do this, don't you need a motion to get this on the floor for discussion?
I was getting ready to suggest that. I just wanted Michael to explain.
Okay, I make the motion that we.
I have a motion by Alderman Eugene Christian for discussion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
I got a second by Carl. Will all in favor, aye? Open for discussion.
This basically just covers all the problems that we would have from the previous one that was passed 2017 in January. It was 25 pages and this one is 50. I looked through this and it looked like to me that it just covers all the loopholes that you would incur in some of these problems.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Attempts to clean up some questions that weren't clear.
Okay, yeah.
If somebody's dismissed, they have right to fill this board.
No.
No.
So if they terminated,
Under this policy, they could go to Chancery Court, but there's no appeal right when somebody's terminated under at-will to this board. Under the city manager form of government, city manager hires and fires and works for the board. The board directs the city manager or the city administrator, whatever the title. I'm not clear on the title. But the hiring and firing, the management and the day-to-day operations would be performed by the city manager. And if the board's not happy with the city manager, the board can get rid of the city manager.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
it's an important legal distinction, and it's something that we attempted to address the last time Mr. Gross came up here, which I believe was in 2015 or 16.
I think 15,
Yeah.
spring of 15.
Yeah, and we tried to talk about it, but we really didn't get anywhere. The at-will employment issue is really important. A number of the legal issues we've had in court of late have drawn from and kind of sprung from our current grievance procedure. It basically puts our at-will employer status at jeopardy, and it creates what could be a very expensive and quite frankly messy legal battle on the back end when an employee's terminated. And it doesn't really take away the employee's right to challenge that termination if they think it was unjust in the court system, which is the way an at-will employment situation works. Tennessee's an at-will employment state. Every business that doesn't give you a contract up and down this highway is an at-will employer, and they can terminate their employees for any reason or no reason at all.
As long as it's not an unlawful.
As long as it's not unlawful, exactly. And they're protected, I was going to say, they're protected by the laws of the state to judge whether or not that was a just termination. This is something that I've mentioned many times over the past 3 years, and I think it is an important thing for the town. It's an important step for the town to take because, quite frankly, we have left ourselves throughout this time period and up until now in a bit of a tricky legal situation where we've created the guise that employees may have rights in their employment they don't actually have. That could lead a court to also believe that we had given them rights in their employment, which could be extremely expensive on the back end.
Right. You would have to prove that you didn't, basically the whole equitable estoppel thing comes in. Is there an agreement or is there not an agreement? It's much simpler and much cleaner to allow the city manager to make employment decisions. And the language in there allows the city manager to take disciplinary action other than termination as appropriate. Have conversations with people, write people up, suspend people, but not necessarily go straight to termination. And that would be something the board would monitor as far as the performance of the city manager and how the city manager executes his duties or her duties in the case that may be. I wanted to address the grievance procedure. A grievance, especially under at-will, is to allow the employee to have a voice with the city manager in relationship to his or her working conditions, the equipment provided, the facilities, safety issues, and so forth. It's not to appeal disciplinary.
Any other questions?
I would like to throw one thing in, if it'd be all right with the board. And my microphone's dead, so I'll try to speak up. Part of my job is to manage the workforce. Part of my job is to ensure the most efficient and best delivery of services. Accomplishing that means giving our employees a good place to work. That's just part of my job. That is, other than you seven that can stand ready to terminate me if I act unfairly to an employee. Another part of that is for me to be too heavy-handed or to do something unjustly within the workforce will impair our ability to deliver services. It will compromise the integrity of the organization of Mount Carmel as a workforce, as public employees. So I have a responsibility both to this board, but also to the employees, because my job is to give them the tools that they need to provide the services, to come in, do a good job. That is also a check on my actions. If employees, and certainly there will be employees from time to time get upset with me because nobody always gets the answer that they always want to hear. But I've got to make sure that as a whole, the workforce is good, they like their jobs, they're happy. If I don't do that, then the whole organization, our interaction with the community will suffer, the delivery of services will suffer. So I am directly incentivized not to take unjust action because I've got to make sure that these services get delivered. I don't know if that helps at all, but that's one kind of caveat that I wanted to throw out there.
You know, Mayor, I went through this thing, you know, from one end to the other, and I agree with John and Mike. I think I just go ahead and make a motion that we pass this because it covers and it does the right thing. And, you know, under the at will, there is a lot of difference in what we got in this other here. So I make a motion that we just go ahead and pass this.
Okay. I've got a motion by Alderman Eugene Christian. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I've got a second one by Ms. Williams.
If I may, the ordinance that's actually on the table is just to get
Discuss.
rid of the old policy for
Okay.
now, because we'll have to then pass the new policy. at that
Correct,
point.
correct. The old policy was established at an ordinance level, so that means it takes two readings
Okay.
to amend or to get rid of it. The new policy will be passed as a resolution. Therefore, any amendments, any changes that arise, we can address pretty quickly. It's not a 2-month process to change a policy, something like that.
So the mechanism will be, you'll vote a first reading on this ordinance now, a second reading at the next meeting, and then also vote the resolution in at the next meeting.
Okay, I just changed my motion to get rid of this one.
Good deal.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call, Mike.
All right. Alderman Eugene Christian?
Yes.
Alderman Margaret Christian?
Yes.
Alderman Wanda Davidson?
Yes.
Alderman Garrett White?
Yes.
Alderman Jennifer Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Carl Wolf?
Yes.
Mayor Chris Jones?
Yes. Thank you, John.
Can I ask a question?
Thank
Can I
you,
ask a
John.
question?
Yes.
Talking about employees and everything, this probably is for Mr. Peavy. Mr. Peavy, how many lawsuits do we have against Mount Carmel of the past employees that's been fired? I know of 3, but is there any more than that?
Currently, I don't know that we have any currently, but you're straining my mental capacity right now.
We do have 3, I know.
I think currently we have a number of lawsuits going, but some of them are of a different nature. We may have some employment-related ones. I guess we have. I can think of 2 currently. So.
And I can think of 3 that I've talked to people.
The others are of a different nature.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, moving on, ordinance number 18 Ordinance number 18-469, this is an ordinance of the Town of Mount Carmel amending the fiscal year 2017-2018 general fund budget, passed by ordinance number 17-453.
I make a motion that we get it on the floor for discussion.
I have a motion by Alderman Eugene Christian for discussion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Vice Mayor Wolf. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Open for discussion.
This is normally a process that we go through at the end of each budget year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this just moving money around from one place to another?
It is.
One line item.
Marion, would you like to explain what this process is so everyone
Amendment?
here, understands what we're doing?
We will take a department, and if money is needed in one spot and not in another, we will move that around to cover those expenses. Sometimes we just increase the revenue that came in to be able to use it, and sometimes we decrease expenditure. So that's basically what we do to make sure that everything is covered. Anybody have any questions?
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and pass it.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Eugene Christian to pass ordinance number 18-469. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I've got a second by Alderman Garrett White. Roll call.
Alderman Eugene Christian?
Yes.
Alderman Margaret Christian?
Yes.
Alderman Wanda Davidson?
Yes.
Alderman Garrett White?
Yes.
Alderman Jennifer Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Carl Wolf?
Yes.
Mayor Chris Jones?
Yes. Ordinance number 18-470, this is an ordinance of the Town of Mount Carmel, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018 and ending June 30th, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we open this up for discussion.
I have a motion by Alderman Maggie Christian for discussion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Vice Mayor Wolf. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Floor is open for discussion.
Yes, my question would probably go to the city manager. and to Marion, city recorder. This is just it's my understanding, I just need some clarification here, that this is just a rough draft of our budget.
That's what we discussed at our budget, workshop.
I just needed to get that on record, that we were all clear on
And
that.
I'm sure that we will probably have another one to work out any other problem.
Thank you very much.
We'll be having another workshop to really discuss some of these issues like the city recreation. Because I'd like to thank, I think he's still back there, Judge John Ross for speaking up for the kids. I'm the member of the Board of Mayor and Alderman that goes to the Three-City League, and I'm there every time they meet. And I know Mr. Wilson and all the guys that sits on the board. And I share your idea about the kids that we need it, and it really teaches them a lot more than just going to a ball game. And I think, and I talked to the city manager today, there's some room here that we can go in and we can discuss and we can fix some of these things. So this is, the way I understand it, is just to set it so we have something in place, but we can't go back and adjust it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at the, after we have the next workshop, we can go back and adjust it and fix some of these problems. And I'd like to make a motion that we just go ahead, unless somebody else has more questions, that we go ahead and,
Carl has one.
okay.
This does not set the tax rate, is that correct?
It is in the ordinance, yes.
But this does not make it official.
No, you have to have another reading.
You'd have to have a second reading before the ordinance is passed. So it could be amended between now and then if necessary.
Tax rate could be adjusted or higher or up, or either way you want to go, right?
Yes.
Between this meeting and the next time we vote on it, yeah.
Mary explained to everybody that because of the paperwork and stuff, it has to go to Nashville, it has to go to the comptroller's office and everything else. It's imperative that we would pass it, correct me if I'm wrong, pass this because of the length and everything that you gotta go through on the paperwork. Keep from having additional meetings.
Yes.
But we are having a budget workshop next Thursday. And it is also with discussion with Church Hill, we ain't getting out of our contract.
Right.
So Parks and Recreation is gonna be funded this year. So, is that it? And I don't get insurance, never have, except for years ago when I worked here.
And I just want to clarify on the recommendations that Mike and I made to the board, to show the board how much money needed to be either raised for us to balance the budget or cuts that would need to be made. The impact to show them a great magnitude of what it would do. It would have taken the library, the post office, all your non-essential services. Either that or we have to have a revenue. So that's the reason that recommendation was made. It was to show you all how large our deficit was and what it would take in order to make that up without having a tax increase.
And explain to everybody that this is mainly because our revenue's not going up.
It hasn't gone up in years.
And it hasn't gone up in several years. I know the closest we come to getting a business, which was a really nice business, would brought us in between $65,000-$70,000, was interested in one lot in town on Main Street, and the person that actually owned the lot wouldn't even discuss selling it to them. So we have had some businesses looking, but unfortunately, if people don't want to sell their property on Main Street, we can't make them sell.
Nobody's done anything wrong, the board or any of the employees, to get us in the position we're in. If you haven't had an increase in revenue since 2007, but you're trying to keep up with the times and continue to do what you do, it just doesn't work. It's just caught up with us.
And I would like to say this too. I've worked with Marion, and I know how valuable Marion is. We worked on retail sales, trying to get people in the shopping center down here. I brought people here, and she can tell you. I've worked on it, and you know, trying to get businesses in here, and a lot of times, you know, it's harder to do it. It's just like the mayor said, if you have a a business, and I've had supermarkets that was actually interested in this location down here, because if you do the Buxton report, which will actually give you a retail idea of what you can expect to get from this location, and you talk to businesses and they're interested, then you take it to the landlord and it goes to south. I mean, what do you do? But there has been people that work for retail, myself. And Marion can verify, because I brought people here. And I know how valuable Marion is and what kind of job she does. And we hired Michael to manage the town and proceed and do the job. We didn't hire him to bring him here and run him off before he can get started. So, and then I would like to ask John this question: if we go ahead and do this, would you have to advertise the amendment that we made before we pass the ordinance?
No.
You just have to advertise, okay?
In between readings, I actually did some digging on this today. In between readings, an ordinance can be changed fairly dramatically without impacting its validity.
Right.
As long as the fundamental nature of the ordinance is not changed, then an amendment between readings is not going to affect the authority or the ability to pass a viable piece of legislation. So changing line items on here wouldn't impact that at all. So I think that would be fine.
What I'm saying, if you increase the tax rate or decrease
It's
the
not
tax
gonna.
rate,
It's still gonna be. You're still gonna be able to vote on a second reading.
okay.
We have to advertise the budget
Yeah,
figures.
yeah.
Yes, we will do that.
Okay, that's good, because the Tennessee Coalition for Open Government, so.
Yeah.
You
And
wanna make
anybody's
sure,
welcome to a copy of the budget at any
Yeah.
time. You call me, I'll email it to you, fax it to you, come by and pick it up.
Eugene, can I say something? I just
You
want-
could ask the mayor.
Sorry.
I will address Phil on your budget request back there. You need to put that in the letter and get it to us by next Thursday. Put it in the letter and give it to us by next Thursday, your request.
Marion, could you address why we have, that we're not trying to do anything underhanded in doing this, that we have to address this by July 1st?
Oh, yeah.
As far as,
Yes, we have to have our budget set by July
Right.
1st. And
the
the process
comptroller's
would,
office requires us to do this. If we don't do this, then they can come in and pretty much take over the town. And then they set their tax rate without any consideration of what that might be to balance the budget. So just wanting to let you know, in doing this kind of thing, we're not trying to do anything underhanded.
No, we were just all overwhelmed with it to begin with, and we had such a time constraint that we had to make a budget, and I think we all knew when we left down there, this wasn't gonna be the final, that we had been there a long time and trying to, come up with, some solution to it, and we're gonna continue to work on it. And, so if y'all would just be patient with us, we'll take what you say into consideration and do as much as we can do with what we have to do.
Mayor, you said something there a minute ago. We need to do something now on this to go to national. What's need to go to national for if we ain't done with it?
we have to have 2 readings on an ordinance. So unless you have the first reading tonight and the second reading at the next meeting, you're gonna have to set a special call meeting somewhere in between there.
Because it has to be done by July 1st.
Yes.
Is that correct?
By June the 30th, yes.
June 30th.
Can I throw in one more thing? Vice Mayor, was that answered? For you?
What now?
Was that answered for you?
It just seemed to me like we're trying to set a tax rate here tonight, which I don't exactly like. Until we have.
Nobody likes that, Carl, but we've got to either cut or we've got to raise money. It's that simple. It's come to that point.
When I've worked on some numbers today that will kind of give some perspective on where we've been and where we find ourselves. One thing on the timeline, yes, the state requires the budget to be passed by July 1st. In addition to that, the budget numbers have to be published in a local newspaper 10 days in advance of the meeting and the final reading. So we need to have the numbers kind of in line probably 12 days before our meeting. So time is becoming an issue here. I've prepared a pretty simple chart, and I'll be happy to do it. Well, I'll just do it now. No time like the present. This is a snapshot of the town's financials over the last 11 years. What you will see is, in regards to total revenues, going back to fiscal year 2007, we have seen 1.4% growth in our revenue since that time. Give you some idea of what we're looking at there. Going back to the same time, inflation 25%. So our revenues have not tracked inflation. Spending, we've seen 19% growth in spending. Typically, there's some expectation that you would see levels of spending tracking inflation, because as inflation increases, then the cost of delivering those services increase. So we do a lot, and we do it efficiently. The numbers just aren't here, and it's a problem. You know, local sales tax has dropped 7.5% since 2007. Property tax, it's a little bit misleading. It shows a 51% growth in property tax. That looks great on paper, but the fact is, if you have $2 of property tax in 2007 and you have $8 in 2017, well, that's 400% growth. Our property tax was always low. It has grown, but now what we've seen is from 2007 to 2011, basically about 55% growth, but after 2011, our property tax revenue has dropped 6%. So the cost of providing services has gone up, but the revenues have not. And this is a problem, and I'll be honest, it's not something that I think is reasonable to expect the board to fix this year. This is going to be a long-term process. I think everybody's on the same page. We need businesses here. The goal is to become less reliant on property tax and more reliant on sales. To do that, we've got to recruit those businesses. We've got to get them here. But it's going to be a long-term process, and it's going to take the commitment of this board and future boards.
Just so that y'all know, in 2007, our total revenues was $2,237,176. In 2018, it's $2,269,443. So you can see there's only like a $30,000 change, $32,000 change there.
But you actually show a decrease in local sales tax too.
Yes.
We've got $377,904 in 2007. Over here in 2018, we just have $350,000.
And actually, 2017, 2018, we've actually brought in less property taxes than we did in 2016.
Yeah. So, you know, really, if you talk about comparing us to Churchill, we're stuck between two railroad tracks here. And not only that, you look at Churchill's retail sales, they have 2 supermarkets, they have 2 Dollar Generals and a Family Dollar. They also have McDonald's and also a Pal's. They have a lot more retail than we do. So if we had a lot of retail ourselves, our tax rate would be able to maintain lower and we'd have a lot more money to work with. And that's why I went and talked to Mike, and me and Mike is going to work on retail sales to see if we can go out here and talk to these people and see if we can get some people coming to this town to put some, you know. Anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, can I just ask a quick question just to clarify something, Mayor? Obviously, you guys aren't going to intentionally breach your contract with Churchill and Seguinforth, so I know a lot of people are concerned about Parks and Rec. So, in order for you guys to decide to pull out of that contract, y'all have to put that back on the agenda as a specific item at some point, if y'all wanted to take that up for next year's budget. Is that correct?
It'd have to be a board decision.
Okay.
Do I have any motions?
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and accept ordinance number 18-469.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Maggie Christian to accept ordinance number 18-470.
I'm sorry, 470. I apologize. I stand corrected.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, please.
I have a second by Alderman Wanda Worley.
Davidson.
Davidson. Sorry. Boy, that's that old stuff coming back. Roll call, Mike.
Alderman Eugene Christian,
Yes.
Alderman Margaret Christian,
Yes.
Alderman Wanda Davidson,
Yes.
Alderman Garrett White,
Yes.
Alderman Jennifer Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Carl Wolf,
No.
Mayor Chris Jones.
Yes.
Passes first reading.
Okay, next item on the agenda is accept or reject bunker gear bids. Mike?
The bids are in your packet, and I'm trying to work my way to them as well. What you see is 2 companies that put the bid, American ERT and Safe Industries. The only bidder that bid the products, the equipment exactly as they were spec'd is Safe Industries. American ERT had some exceptions. They had some replacements on what we had asked for. You can see Safe Industries are $400 roughly lower, and I don't know, do we typically make a recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. I do know that my understanding is, and the chief was stuck in Bristol tonight, Safe Industries is the bidder that the chief was more comfortable with.
Are you saying chief recommended Safe Industries?
Yes.
Okay, can you explain to everyone why we're would have to spend $2,861 on bunker gear? That's it.
Why we would? We need bunker gear. Bunker gear is the protective equipment for our firefighters. It's coats. Mayor, I'm sure you can elaborate more than I can, but it's the coats, gloves, helmets, boots, the whole bit. It's the gear that our firefighters depend on to keep them safe. It is not cheap, obviously, but we do need that.
There's certain things that meet NFPA requirements. Unfortunately, bunker gear is just like the clothes you're wearing now. If a new person comes in, they wear size 44, and all the fire department's got is a size 48, and they can't wear them because they're too big. If the only thing they got is 36, then they can't wear them because they're too small. They're just like clothes that you're wearing now, just like going to the store. Unfortunately, SBA has made so many stipulations and stuff with everything that the price of a bunker gear turnout gear for a new firefighter is outrageous.
Mayor, don't we need a motion to get this on the floor for consideration?
We did.
Can I make that motion?
You can. Have a motion by Alderman Christian for discussion.
Second.
Second by Alderman Mikey Christian. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Also on this, these are not gonna be purchased in this year's budget, correct?
No.
But these are for new firefighters?
For new firefighters, and this is a bid that was placed in anticipation of the next year's budget. So once we pass the budget, we will have the quotes and bidding in place so that it's out of the way. I think the bid is good for a year, and we can pull the trigger as necessary on that.
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and accept this from the Safe Industries.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Eugene Christian to accept the bid from Safe Industries. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Alderman Jennifer Williams. Any further discussion?
The only thing is, you buy it now or later if you don't have park.
Yeah.
That's like mouse too. Buy, as far as the state rules, I mean, it's expensive.
Well, too, your fire department is one of your most important
You gotta have
departments that you got.
Well,
So
if
you-
one of them gets hurt, then it's gonna cost a lot more than $3,000.
Oh, yeah. So we need to do this.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, accept or reject the ice control rock salt bids. Motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Alderman Eugene Christian, second by Alderman Garrett White. All in favor, aye? Michael?
On this, salt, I don't know quite as much about it as bunker gear, which isn't saying much. But staff's recommendation is low bid, Detroit Salt Company.
No, it's Morton.
Oh, I'm sorry. Morton.
It's on the second page. $97.41 a ton. So that's up from last year.
Oh.
It's on the second.
Low bid compass minimum.
We don't want to deal with Compass Minerals.
Right.
They require you to buy 80% of what you bid, whether you need it or not. Yeah.
We bought our salt from last time, same house, more than.
I think it's more than last
Did we
year.
deal with them before?
Yes.
I make a motion that we do go ahead and pass the, accept their bid.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Eugene Christian, to accept Morton Salt. I have a second.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Vice Mayor Carl Wolf. Further discussion?
Now, on this, we can order 10 ton or 200 ton, whatever we need.
We bid
Without-
out 500 tons with a 500 ton lots and no immediate delivery, so
Right.
yes.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Presentation and adoption of monthly financial report.
Apologies to the board, I don't have the typical monthly financial report that I read to you, so I will not subject the board to my reading this month. But I would ask that the typical monthly financials, that you do accept that. Those are the numbers for April. And of course, you'll see some of the numbers circled. That's where we've surpassed certain line items, and my understanding is that those line items are being addressed within the budget amendment.
Okay, do I have a motion from the board?
So moved.
I have a motion by Alderman Eugene Christian, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I got a second by Vice Mayor Carl Wolf, any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Set the budget workshop. Would you all have a problem next Thursday at 5:30?
Push it. Can we make it 6? 6 o'clock. Sorry, get off 9:30. That's
So that
option
would be
day.
the 31st.
6.
Okay,
5:30 or 6?
6.
motion for Thursday at 6 o'clock, the 31st.
So moved.
A motion by Eugene Christian, second. Second by Vice Mayor Carl Wolf, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, mayor comments. Only thing I'm gonna say is I do not receive insurance from this town, never have, except for when I work here. I no longer work here, I do not get insurance here. Correct, Mary?
Correct.
And I had to take my wheel tax this year, so there you go.
You're late.
You got anything, Mike?
Very quickly, we did have 6, I believe, firefighters attend Smoky Mountain Weekend. That enabled them to receive their hazmat certification. It is actually cheaper for them to go there and do the weekend conference and receive the certification than it would have been for us to train them in-house. They also shared a cabin rather than renting a room. That was also cheaper, although they did have to bunk up together. And like I said, we had, I think all 6 received hazmat certification, and maybe 1 received a confined space at that time. Do want to state, commend Officer Grady White. He's standing out there presently turning red.
Come here, Grady.
That's great.
I actually had that on my notes too.
Okay, well, Grady actually responded to a call off the clock or before his shift, is my understanding. Saved Mr. Garvin Patrick's house, it was also my understanding. Quick thinking, a definite ability to come in early for work, answer the call. Officer White is an incredible officer. I will say that the significance of his action and what he did for Mr. Patrick, Grady has the same character to match the significance of his action. Lastly, well, 2 things. Red Flex, they're digging out within a month or 2. I think by the end of June, we can anticipate red light camera being operational. I believe the first 30 days is a warning period. I would not recommend anybody test that, but that is my understanding. That, like I said, they're actually, I think, out there right now working on that. Lastly, today was the tentative closeout for Chief of Police search, initial dated as the initial date for review of applications. Given it a lot of thought, we discussed it at the meeting. Like I said, we've always anticipated doing a selection committee through MTAS. I've been working with Mr. Hardy on that. He will be contacting mayor, vice mayor, I know, to ask them questions about what kind of characteristics they're looking for. Anybody else that wants input into the the interview process and the question building, if you'll let me know, I'll have Pat give you a call so that you can talk to them about it. Additionally, first stage of the process, first interview, will be done by committee, of which I will not be participating. I will be watching. I'll be sitting there. I'll ask no questions, have no involvement in it other than observation. Discuss this with Mr. Hardy. Anybody, any board member that would like to be present during those interviews, if you'll let me know, sit next to me, I'll sit there and see what we think. Personnel policy, I will get, did everybody receive that? Vice Mayor, I believe that I still need to get a copy in your hands. I'll do that early next week so that everybody can review that. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, or I'll send out John Grubbs' email as well if you have any questions for him. Lastly, this is the lastly, we have received tentative approval from TDOT on the Hammond Avenue Safety Improvement Project. That was a project that had previously been scrapped by TDOT, quite literally or figuratively at the 11th hour. The thought is that MPO will fund that directly. That will have to go before MPO board. Received word on that just a couple of days ago. It is safety improvement project. Of course, we've already done the striping there, but there's some signage, some things like that, potential for a centerline rumble strip, if that is something that would be recommended. It is a project with no match, about $40,000 plus is what we anticipate. So, but that will have to go before the board, the MPO, to vote on. But they don't anticipate any problems with that.
We'll start down here next to Wanda. Got anything?
Okay. I'd like to say that it's good to be back, and I appreciate everybody's prayers and well wishes while I went through my recovery, and I think that that we can all work together to solve this problem, and I think with respect for each other that things are going to work a whole lot better, and that we all, I think, care and love about Mount Carmel, or we wouldn't live here. So I appreciate y'all.
I would like to thank everybody for coming out tonight and sharing your opinions. You know, that's helpful. And we understand that everybody owns part of Mount Carmel, and we're proud of Mount Carmel. I am. I've lived here for 30 years, and I think it's a privilege to serve Mount Carmel as an alderman, which I have for many years. And I would like to thank all of our employees for the job that they do. A lot of times, you know, the police and even the public works, when they're out here mowing, you know, that's a very dangerous job. And we have some really good employees, and that's all I've got to say, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate everyone coming out. I think all of you are concerned about Mount Carmel, and I appreciate that. And I really hope you understand we're trying to take in consideration your views and your wishes. And we're really trying to do the best we can for the city. So I know that's hard to believe sometimes when you look at things, but it's not easy. This is not an easy job to do, and it's very heartfelt for me to try to do what's best for the city.
Yes, well, again, I will go ahead and say the same thing pretty much as the other aldermen. It's great to have input. As long as we can respect each other, it's great to get your all's ideas, so that when we all come to the table, that we all can pull all this information and make a decision for what is good for everyone. Also, I wanted to wish everybody a happy and safe Memorial Day. Thank you.
No, it's all been said already.
Real quick before we adjourn, Michael, can you touch on some of the things that we're trying to do down here at Main Street? I know a lot of people, and I know this is out of order, the bandstand thing we have down here, the ideas behind it. Can you touch on that real quick?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is something where I know that the stage can be a hot button topic, but this is something that I share the view with the mayor, and I think much of the board as well. We need business on Main Street. What we have there is not bringing the revenue, and because of that, property tax is supporting the bulk of our revenue. It's the mayor's belief, and I share it, and I think the board does as well, that business follows people. You get people in a location, and there will be businesses come to cater to them. We need to be looking at our Main Street. We have a lot of challenges in what we can do in regards to development. Geographically, we've got the cards stacked against us, but we do have the potential to have a beautiful Main Street, and it is right there. And as Gene will tell you, I think, or Alderman Christian will tell you, 45,000 people drive by it every day. The idea is that we'd like to get some of those people to turn off at some of the places, pull in, have a place to spend a little money, hopefully it's tax money, and have a community and a place for people to spend time with their families. Main Street, other than one side of the Carter's Valley Road, all of our eggs are in Main Street's basket, and it's what we need if we're going to develop business and bring in other revenues. But economic development is long term. It takes commitment. You don't see it. I would love to see something come in 6 months, but it's one of those things that you've got to hammer, you've got to hammer, you've got to hammer, and eventually it will pay off. We've got opportunity. There is economic growth going on all around us. Kingsport, I hate to draw a comparison, but Kingsport's our neighbor. Kingsport's economy is growing quite literally to our town boundary. We need to start engaging in activity that will pull that economic growth on into our town. There's a lot of things that we need to do. We need people downtown on Main Street. We need to pursue things that will help the appearance, make it a more attractive place to locate. One of the biggest things that you can do, and one of the cheapest things that we can do to make it an attractive place for a business to be, is get people there. That's the cheapest thing that we can do. Everything else is going to cost money in regards to visual upgrades, infrastructure, things like that, but we can create a sense of community. We can do activities that will give people pride and want to uplift our community. Also, we need to be engaging in these activities, and jumping off for just 1 second, the idea of an adoption day at the animal shelter. I don't know if Ms. Faulkner is still here, but that is something that we're going to pursue as well. I think that's a fantastic idea, and I'm going to recruit her as a volunteer. But it's all about getting people down there and creating that community and giving businesses a reason to look at that area.
I have a question. We used to get grants. Has anybody, have we applied for any grants?
I'll answer that. We're actually working on the grants. We're trying to get our Merchants Association back up because a lot of these grants, like the Main Street Development grants and stuff, has to work through a different agency besides Mount Carmel. So we have to encourage our Merchants Association to nonprofit organization where they can apply for some of these grants to help our Main Street. As far as the other grants, we've been applying for them. Unfortunately, there's a couple of factors that come into play. One of them being that the household income hurts us. We don't have enough poor people in town where we can get a lot of these grants. Hey, am I not correct? That's the craziest thing. You'd think that they would want to spread their money equally across the rich, poor, and everybody, but unfortunately, the median base income in our community doesn't. The CDBG grants that we've been applying for, we don't even make it past the first door. That's how bad it is.
We still don't need to give up, though.
No, we apply every year.
There's a lot of grants out there that we can still get.
Yeah, and we are applying.
Has there been any attempt in recent years to approach BAE about pushing the fence back and letting us use some of that property? I mean, we've got developments going in where Armory used to be there. I mean, the only place that you can't use that side of the road is in Mount Carmel.
Yeah, according to BAE, a large portion of this right up here, originally where it was developed at, cleared off. You know, we were looking at development there. And then the government come in and said, no, can't do it. It's too close to this safety zone. Get back across the fence.
Trying to go back.
We're actually working on this right over here, the area that's fenced in. Dealing with the Corps of Engineers in Mobile, Alabama. They are, I don't know if it's time consuming. I don't know why it takes 6 years to get a deed, but apparently it takes at least 6 years to get a deed. I know Larry's term, he was dealing with it. Gary's term, we were dealing with it. And here it is my turn, 2 years into it, and I'm still on the phone with them probably once a month anyway. Once a month, just trying to get our deed for a piece of property. So it's a non-continuous thing. Also, trying to meet with the representatives at the federal government level, trying to get more areas that we can develop. It's not being successful, but we're still trying. Okay. With that being said, do you have anything, John?
The only thing I was going to say is that with respect to the contract with the interlocal agreement between Mount Carmel, Churchill, and Circle One, that requires a 1 year notice if it is to be broken. So even if the board does take that vote at some point, we have to submit a notice letter stating that the town did want out. And then anytime within the 1 year, that could be rescinded. So
they can't take that vote without notifying the public if that's on the agenda.
Right. It would have to be advertised and voted on in typical fashion. But that there is at least, even if the worst case scenario happens and that has to occur, you got a year to try and make it right. Because it's something that if it's gone, it's going to be very difficult to reconvene.
It's gone forever.
No. And how much is it? How much is that? $80,000.
I want to apologize to the board real quick for all this out of order at the end of the meeting, but a lot of our citizens got questions and needed some answers. So with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion by Alderman Christian. I have a second. I have a second by Vice Mayor Wolf. All in favor, aye? Aye.
I was wondering if I should say something. I was at the Churchill BMA meeting before this.
And also, I usually hang around here and make sure your contract.
And then they voted to not charge Mount Carmel or any county people extra money.
Sorry, I didn't mean to lay it on
Their
you.
kids will pay the same as
If they can fund it.
Thank you for being here.
I say Mark.